Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Good evening, dear friends. Welcome back. Here we are again at Kardec Radio, and this is our Prayer for Peace program. Thank you so much for joining me, and a big hello and warm welcome to all of you who may listen to this later on demand. And so, as usual, we do a little message before our prayer just to help us raise our thoughts, prepare the body, relax our minds, and get into that higher state of thinking as we enter into prayer. And so our message today comes out of this book, which is entitled A Light in the Darkness. And this book is by the spirit Joanna de Ângelis, psychographed by Divaldo Franco. And it's a relatively new book. It's 2018. And it is has been translated into English, and I believe is very much still available. And the title of our chapter is Doubt. It's chapter 28, if you happen to have the book and would like to read along. And so let's see what Joanna has to teach us about doubt. She starts out by saying, the whole truth is divine wisdom, reached step by step during the long sequence of reincarnations. So we can pretty much understand whole truth equals divine wisdom. Both positive and negative experiences efficiently contribute to learning in the constant pursuit of intellectual and moral improvement. So we're always learning. And this is why she backs up the idea that to refrain when we find ourselves in tough situations, maybe we're suffering a bit, find ourselves facing some trials, possibly some expiations, to reframe that we are learning. It's an opportunity for learning. Not easy to do, but we are being supported to do that. Because why? Is because this is what contributes to our constant pursuit of intellectual and moral improvement. So she says, many seemingly valuable achievements demonstrate their fragility in the end, opening mental and emotional space for rectification and further content considerations. So we can see that just like everything else, even truth keeps expanding. And what we understand as a truth today has room for growth and change and is dynamic and continues to evolve. For this reason, no one can stop or absorb divine wisdom, whole truth, from one moment to the next. Because divine wisdom, whole truth, its very constitution is made of profound reflections that must be psychically digested as they are incorporated into our existence, becoming a natural behavior. So this divine truth, this whole truth, this divine wisdom is not something we just keep up in our head, but it becomes a natural behavior. It becomes more innate. It's within us. Almost, I think we can think about it like brushing our teeth. We don't decide, is this a good thing or a bad thing, or analyze it too much. It's just what we do. So divine wisdom, divine or whole truth, never presents itself total or complete, because its magnitude surpasses anything the imagination can conceive. To reach the whole truth is the goal of every spirit. And she reminds us that spirits are those travelers of immortality. In each existential opportunity, the spirit develops a specific aptitude, penetrating the core where it originates in order to encompass other areas that comprise wisdom. So just like anything else, it evolves. It's like building blocks, one thing growing upon another. Absorbing the whole truth all at once would drive a person to madness, given the impossibility to process it in ideal doses. So this is very helpful for us to know when we think we should have the whole truth or we know something thoroughly and this is the way it is. No, it drives us to madness. We're not ready for that. Small amounts, like rays of light, end up creating the full and perfect spectrum. So again, it's the adding on, and then we get the full picture. Initially, the physical vessel prevents a clear discernment, but enables the perception of knowledge and broadens the horizon of the mind to make more sizable acquisitions. So we get to understand and know things as we're ready. Due to ignorance, it is natural for new information to lead to doubts, the fear of deceit, thus preventing its assimilation. And so we can understand when she talks about due to ignorance, this is a lack of awareness, that the spirit is not aware yet, or in some area it's not aware. To doubt, therefore, is a precious intellectual and moral tool for learning. It's so easy to think about doubt in a negative sense of like, oh, it's a lack of faith or, doubting Thomas. But she's here to support the idea that it is a precious intellectual and moral tool for learning. She's going to explain further. First, the lack of knowledge about the mechanism of something new raises suspicion. So this is a natural process. Second, the new information imposes inevitable changes in behavior, which the individual is compelled to accept or reject in order to adapt the new habit. When doubt is not the product of bad faith. So what is bad faith? It's negativity. It's that extreme suspicion, too excessive. So she says when doubt is not the product of bad faith, it is a mental resource to consolidate any belief or information arising in the course of human development. Doubt is a healthy attitude because it drives reason to investigate, compare, and study. And this is good, right? This is good for us to discern, to use our will rightly. When enthusiasm precedes reason and logic, it dissipates after a while upon verifying the fragility of the undertaking embraced without the necessary reflection. So when we're all excited and we're so happy that we found the truth or we gained some piece of knowledge or wisdom, without really taking time to analyze it, to, just like she says, reflect upon it, it dissipates after a while because that's really all it was possibly enthusiasm. So even the same ideas vary from mind to mind, given the different interests of the person who conceived or received it. Jesus was remarkably logical when he stated, "If you do not believe what you see, how could you believe in our Father, whom you have never seen?" And so this is taken from a place in the New Testament where he's talking to the disciples, and I think it was specifically to Philip, where he's telling him, if you can believe the Father is in me and I am in the Father, then you can believe in the Father who you haven't seen. But he said something similar to this to Nicodemus at one time when Nicodemus was asking him, he didn't understand about reincarnation. And Jesus simply said, if you don't believe the things I'm telling you about the world and the material world, how are you going to believe things of the spiritual world which you don't see? So very similar. His magnificent feats, so she's talking about Jesus, demonstrated his superiority. And yet doubt, petty and easy, would take hold of his beneficiaries as soon as the initial excitement subsided. And so we understand this because they were all excited about that they were going to be in the kingdom of God, of the Almighty One, but they were thinking on a material level. And so the reality of the hardship and the effort that was needed to apply without much seemingly reward in terms of the world or materials, they would become petty and fight who was going to take over when Jesus was gone, or who was next in line, who was more superior, who was going to be on his right and left side. So today, thanks to the advances of modern disciplines such as quantum physics and molecular biology, we understand that first we must believe and then see. This means to say that thought goes from the abstract to the concrete, that is, from conception to possibility to physical reality. And in the arena of religious belief, doubt has been a thick cloud covering the immortality of the soul, always looking to deny its authenticity. For example, absurd hypotheses are concocted to explain mediumistic phenomena, and by extension, its moralizing concepts. So we already know this in Spiritism about how thought is life. And so it begins with the thought. We emit what we attract what we emit. And as it crystallizes, these repeated thoughts, they manifest. So when analyzing a communication from the beyond, often one resorts to dated theories to deny its authenticity, feeling a certain delight in still being alive in physical form. The goal of serious spirit communication is to prepare incarnate spirits to deal with the future, equipped with ethical values that promote peace and plenitude. So here is, I think, in this one paragraph, the importance for this moment of this prayer for peace, that the goal of serious spirit communication, so not this frivolous, who was I in a past life? Who is this great person I'm talking to or assigning their name that I'm somehow affiliated with? It's not ego-driven, but that it helps us to deal with the future from an ethical point of view, promoting peace and plenitude. So it's kind of striving for those higher ideals, those higher virtues. Doubt does not necessarily mean disbelief or suspicion, but a carefulness and respect concerning new knowledge in order to adopt it with serenity and certainty. And this is the whole idea that the codification books are based upon, Kardec's organization and presenting this, that faith does not need to be blind and just because someone who holds a title tells us so, but that it is reasonable, rational faith that we can understand, therefore we can be certain of it. We can't be certain of things we don't understand, And even if we want to accept it because, oh, we regard this person, we think they're smart and they say it so, it won't hold. We really need to get that knowing within ourselves. So she goes on to say, when doubt pays you a visit, analyze the information naturally to make the appropriate decision. So we don't need to go down a rabbit hole of, oh, I'm so bad, I'm doubting, or I don't have the strong belief as somebody else. But no, take the time and reflect and analyze. So that way we can know and know within ourselves, either for or against. She says, disarm yourself from the systematic and cruel doubt, distancing you from Jesus's ethics and throwing you into a labyrinth of senselessness and indifference. Let me read that again. Disarm yourself from the systematic and cruel doubt, distancing you from Jesus's ethics and throwing you into a labyrinth of senselessness and indifference. So we remember, because indifference, I believe it was in the New Testament in Revelations where Jesus says, when we're neither hot nor cold, means we're lukewarm. And he says, I shall spit you out of my mouth. Because this indifference that Joanna is alluding to is a setup for idleness. It's like, I don't, I'm going to play it safe. I'm not going to say yes or no. I'm just going to stay like in this place of not moving. So what is that? Stagnation. It's idleness. A well-founded belief is an essential component of a balanced existence and a rewarding journey. Peter's fear-based doubt made him deny our friend, right? He was told, Jesus told him he would deny him 3 times, and that's exactly what happened. And why? Because he was afraid. He saw what was happening to Jesus, and he probably didn't want that to happen to him, and so he doubted, and he denied that he was affiliated with Jesus. Another example, Judas's ambition-based doubt drove him to betray our benefactor. And this is important for us because, many times we can hear from different traditions that Judas was a traitor, he betrayed Jesus. And this is true, but it's an ambition-based doubt because he thought, Jesus needed more help, that he doubted that he could pull off this kingdom. But on the other hand, Judas, he perceived, just like she told us earlier, people will perceive information differently. And he perceived that this was a kingdom of the world and that it was actually overthrowing the Romans. And so he was really far off base. He was off the target, but he was ambitious. And so this is what drove him. He thought he was doing a good thing at the time, at the moment. He realized later. But we can see this ambition-based doubt. So she asks us a good question next. She says, what results do your doubts produce for you? And so it's a good question for us all to kind of self-reflect and ponder. And I think one of the a question, follow-up to question can be, does my doubts move me toward the good for others? Or is it all still about me? How does it benefit me? Or how will I be more comfortable? So it is a good question to ask. And like I said, take it to our nightly review, take it to a moment of reflection, of prayer, meditation. Where do I have doubts? And what are the effects that they produce? Do they motivate me to seek higher knowledge, to understand better? Or does it hold me back in suspicion in paranoia, in negativity, inaction? Or do I produce good results? Maybe I'm not sure about something, but let me help somebody else. That's something I can be sure about. And perhaps in that serving, I get a better understanding. You must doubt to investigate. And after deciding on your belief, love, serve, and light up the way for those coming behind you. Beautiful. So we come to see that doubt is perhaps a natural process, and it's even beneficial, and it's necessary to give us that time to analyze, to compare, to study, to reflect, to discern, and then to come to a healthy place of knowing within ourselves. I think sometimes our drive to be right prevents us because we might end up being wrong, or we made the wrong choice. And I feel like Joanna is inviting us here to allow ourselves that space to analyze, to make a decision, to make a choice, and perhaps maybe make a mistake or be wrong. But she reminds us all these things that happen to us in our life. She said it at the beginning, where she said, both positive and negative experiences efficiently contribute to learning in the constant pursuit of intellectual and moral improvement. So we learn by making mistakes. And so it's not to say, oh, go out there and make every mistake under the sun, but to take that moment to discern, to make a choice, to practice acting and deciding from our heart. And in that, we learn, evolve, grow, progress. I invite you all now to close your eyes and join me in a prayer for peace. And along with that, we remember the sentence which kind of brings us to this prayer at this moment, because she says, the goal of serious spirit communication is to prepare the incarnate spirits, which is us at the moment, to deal with the future, to help us navigate life, equipped with ethical values. Because if we're not listening to, higher order spirits or more positive messages, we're not going to be very well equipped to navigate life. Because she says, when we connect with these higher values, these higher virtues, peace and plenitude are promoted. Mother, Father, God, and to all those benefactors that support this platform, enabling us to continue to nourish our souls, enable us to provide service in connecting with each other, sharing wisdom, sharing knowledge, and also enabling us to take action in helping one another. We say hello and a big, big, big thank you, recognizing our smallness and the need for God. And in this prayer for peace, we pray. We pray for new mothers and newly incarnated spirits, that they may be received in the world as divine light, divine love, and hope for the future. And we pray for new mothers, that they may be supported and calm in raising a child, parenting, in a very troubled world, remembering that every child is a blessing. We pray for the children that may feel themselves abandoned and neglected, children who are in orphanages, children who may be in foster care, that they may be receptive to receiving that love that is coming from those closest, even though they may not hold the title of mom and dad. And we pray for our world leaders, and especially in this time of much political confusion, we may have serious doubts. We pray that we may be guided by our hearts and holding to the highest of ideals, remembering ourselves as spirits temporarily embodied in a physical form. And we pray for those organizations that promote Spiritism, that they may too hold to highest ideals and virtues, in sharing this information just as Jesus, sometimes using words, but mostly in our behavior and our actions and how we live. And we also pray for those who are sick, those who are struggling with terminal illness, and those who are undergoing treatments that may result in physical, mental pain, discomfort. We pray for courage, that we may continue to walk and navigate the world as best we can, holding true to that which we understand, that which we know for certainty, and always being open to the new, to expansion. Even though temporarily we may not understand, it may seem chaotic. But we know divine plan is always just and always, always encompasses love. We thank you for this prayer moment. And we pray that we may meet again next week. And with respect and true humility, we ask permission to close this prayer session, and so be it. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's all go forward into our week, appreciating and honoring doubt when it arises, putting to good use our discernment, our analyzing skills, logic, and even sharing with another person, because we know we all learn so much faster and easier from each other. Many blessings. Let's remember to help someone else. See you all next week.